Hi, I'm Jay Silber for the Haifa Report. In the first episode of the Haifa Report, I made it clear that while there is danger in the air from missiles and drones, I felt pretty secure with a system of alerts and alarms and the safe rooms and public shelters available to me. But I heard from people who said I failed to point out that a significant portion of the Israeli population and the population in the Haifa region is not so well protected. Let's look at some of the statistics. As of the date of this recording, March 13, 2026, the only confirmed Israeli civilian deaths in the Israel-Iran war are the 9 civilians killed in the Beit Shemesh strike on March 1st, and 3 more who were killed by Hezbollah rockets in northern Israel, so a total of 12. No verified reports from mainstream sources indicate any deaths, injuries, or property damage in the city of Haifa or within 10 kilometers of the city. While Iranian missile attacks have struck multiple locations across Israel, Haifa has not been among the impacted areas, and no Hezbollah strikes have been confirmed in the Haifa region. Interestingly, the Qatar-based news service Al Jazeera reports over 2,000 Israeli injuries, but no other news source has numbers like that. Now, I know for a fact that missile debris has fallen on Haifa, and I have seen it and I have touched it. So the reporting may have some inaccuracies. Last week, the Haaretz newspaper, citing Israel's emergency services, said 148 people have been wounded by Iranian or Hezbollah strikes around the country. And according to Haaretz, many of those have been injured while walking to shelters. Some of these injuries were from Iranian cluster bomb weapons. In the West Bank, Haaretz reports that the Palestinian Authority says missile shrapnel has fallen in 106 locations so far, wounding 2 people. Again, this is from a week ago. So, am I being overconfident in feeling safe? I've invited a friend with much deeper insight into what's happening in Haifa and Israel, much deeper insight than I have. Let's move over to the Haifa Report's interview wall for that part of the story. So we're here with my friend David Toubkin now, and before we get into the issues of shelters and safety and so forth, let me ask David to introduce himself. Tell us about yourself, David.
Hi Jay, good to be with you. My wife and I made Aliyah in 1979, that's almost 47 years ago, to Haifa. Making Aliyah means coming up, literally in a spiritual sense. But as today we live on top of Mount Carmel, same area as you do, then I assume you could say that's a physical sense as well. We have 3 children, 3 sons. Today they're living in London, Manchester, and Toronto. And I worked for 10 years in a bank here, followed by 25 years working for a software company and traveling all around the world. Today I'm very involved with the English-speaking community in Haifa.
And of course, that's where we met. David leads a discussion group that I participate in every Sunday when I'm in Israel. And those discussions have helped to inspire the Haifa Report. So thank you for that, David. Now, in my first episode of the Haifa Report, I talked about shelters and safety and talked about the relative ease with which I could get to a shelter. And I sort of made the assumption that almost everybody had that ease. Then I was at your place, and we had an alarm while we were meeting, and we went to the shelter nearest you, but it wasn't down the hall. And so I started to think about that, and after my first episode aired, I got comments from lots of people, including from family members, who said there are a lot of differences between what I have and how easy it is for me to get to a shelter and lots of other people. So let's start with shelters. Apparently, I made a mistake in how I named them. And I'd like you to help me out with that. There are several types of shelters in Israel. What are they?
Correct. Okay. So since the Gulf War in 1991, the government passed a law in 1992 that all new apartments built in Israel have to have a mamad. Mamad means merhav mugan dirati. Literally, it means a safe room within your apartment. So new apartments all have those. A second option is actually what you have, which is called a mamak, which means merhav mugan komati, which means it's a shared shelter between several residents of the same floor. The third level is, as you say, a shelter. The apartment building that I live in was built in the 1970s, and the apartments don't have a safe room within them, but we do have a shelter, a communal shelter, which can hold 20 or 30 people easily. But we have to walk down a couple of flights of stairs to get to it. The fourth level is public shelters, which are dotted around the city, and that includes precast buildings, small buildings, and it includes underground stations of for example, the Carmelite station, as you mentioned in your first episode, that can act as a shelter.
But apparently there are even older parts of the city, particularly in Arab communities that were existing before 1948, where there aren't any shelters. Is there a basic inequality in how we treat safety?
Would tend to agree with you. There is some equality, certainly in the Arab areas of the country, get lower budgets for putting in safe rooms. You have to remember that on the Carmel, the area that we live in, there's been a lot of what's called pinui binui. That means that older buildings are torn down and replaced by much larger buildings. You may have an apartment building, an old apartment building of 4 or 6 apartments, which is knocked down and replaced by a building of 21 apartments or 25 apartments. So, but that's mainly happening on the Carmel and less in the Hadar areas or downtown Haifa, which is where most of the Arab population lives. Yes, there is some equality there. You're absolutely right.
On the top here, it's a beautiful place. We get to look out over the whole city, but it starts to get clear as you head down the hill towards the port that there are other neighborhoods that are not quite so well off, and I can see that there could be problems. Now, David has kindly provided me with a link to a list of public shelters. Those of you who are in the English-speaking community here in the Haifa region can click on that link in the show description to see a list of additional shelters. You probably had this too. There was an alert first around 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:52 I think it was, and by 2 o'clock the alarm went off and I ran to the shelter. I was very sleepy, went back to sleep. And then again, after 4 o'clock, there was another one, and I ran to the shelter and went back. There must be a lot of people who just ignore these.
You're probably right. And where the rockets or the drones are coming from, if they're coming from Iran, then we have this Home Front Command app, which rings an alert on your phone warning you that within the next few minutes, there's going to be a siren. That alert is either followed by a siren or not, depending on the actual area where the missiles are actually falling. This is not known precisely when the initial alert is sent out. So it could be that you'll get an alert followed by a siren or an alert followed by no siren. If the rockets are coming from Lebanon, we don't get a pre-alert because there's no time. So it all depends, as I say, what's the source of the fire. For those people who happen to be on the northern border, their main problem at the moment is anti-tank fire from Lebanon, and this is why the army has gone in to the area south of the Litani to try and push Hezbollah back out of range of anti-tank fire.
The question is, and you don't really have to answer this if you don't want to, but why are we at war?
Why are we at war? Well, think of the Second World War. Why did the UK go to war? Because Germany was trying to wipe them out. And Israel has gone to war because Iran and its proxies are trying to wipe us out. The major war actually started on October the 7th, 2023, and is still going on. If you remember, on the 8th of October 2023, Hezbollah joined in with a rocket barrage at Israel and continued firing rockets into Israel every day. And this was at the behest of their Iranian masters. So we have to go to war to eliminate this existential threat which hangs over Israel. Don't forget that when the October War broke out 2 years ago, Hezbollah were estimated to have between 150 and 200,000 rockets pointed at Israel. Thanks to the operations of the IDF and the Mossad, most of those have been removed. So we're in a much better position strategically than we were 2 years ago, but the work is not yet done.
For my family and friends in America, so many of them are very opposed to America's entrance into this war. They don't see it as a direct threat to America, and they don't see it as America's role to participate. I for one, living in a place where Iranians are trying to drop missiles on me, I'm very glad for the help, and I suspect most Israelis are. But what would you say to Americans who question the participation of the United States in this war?
You have to remember, Jay, that as one commentator put it, there's a world chessboard and there's a minor chessboard. Israel is on the minor chessboard. The major world chessboard is actually between America, China, and Russia. Iran was supplying China with 15% of its oil, and in return was getting all its weapons. China was about to provide Iran with advanced missiles, vessel-mounted missiles, which would be capable of sinking an aircraft carrier. So Trump had no option but to go in to counter this potential threat. This is a major world action, and America is protecting its own interests, and it just so happens the timing was very right for Israel to join in as well.
You know, I watch American news media every single day, and that's the first time, David, that I've heard that China was about to provide Iran with weapons that could be used to attack the United States directly. I don't think Americans are aware of that.
Well, they may not be. American media tends to be very focused inwardly rather than on the international level, but that is absolutely what I've heard. And I can understand Americans not being in favor of America getting bogged down in another foreign war like Iraq and Afghanistan, but I don't think that's the situation here. I think this war will be over very soon.
Well, I think we all hope you're correct about that. And certainly my sleeping patterns would approve that. Anyway, David, thank you so very much for joining me today, and I look forward to our regular weekly discussions, and hopefully you'll join me here on the Haifa Report again. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jay. Bye-bye.
In addition to the link to the list of public shelters in the YouTube description of this video, I have added links to news stories about talks the Chinese have been having with the Iranians to sell shipborne missiles to Iran, which can be used to attack, among others, American military vessels. These sources, which appear to be legitimate, say The talks are based on the U.S. buildup of military forces surrounding Iran before the outbreak of the war. Nonetheless, the potential for such weapons in Iranian hands can, and this is speculation on my part, can explain why Donald Trump has been so focused on destroying the Iranian Navy. Well, that's the Haifa Report for today. Now, if you find our reporting and commentary interesting and valuable, please subscribe, like, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll know when we publish new episodes. For the Haifa Report, this is Jay Silber saying, Lehitraot. See you next time.